안녕하세요. 널싱제니입니다. 제가 오늘은 영상을 위해서 특별한 손님을 모셨는데요. 바로 제가 병원에서 일하면서 만난 간호대 학생입니다. 이 친구는 뉴욕대 간호학과 다니고 있고요. 저희 병원에 2달 정도 엑스턴십이라고 한국어로 치면 인턴십을 왔었는데요. 그때 굉장히 친해져서 이렇게 인터뷰 영상도 같이 준비하게 되었습니다. 저는 한국에서 간호대를 나왔기 때문에 미국 간호대가 어떻게 돌아가는지 항상 궁금했거든요. 그래서 이번 기회를 통해서 한국과 미국 간호대가 어떤 식으로 다른지 조금 알아볼 수 있는 기회가 되었으면 좋겠어요. 궁금했던 분들께 유익한 영상이 되기를 바라며 영상 시작할게요. Hi Irene.
Hi.
Hi, nice to see you here again.
Nice to see you too.
First of all, thank you so much for taking your time for my video. I really appreciate your time. Can you briefly introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm Irene. I'm a senior at NYU, New York University, studying nursing. I am a student nurse extern at NYU Langone in the summer of 2022, and I also work part-time as a nurse aide at New York Presbyterian.
Thank you. And my first question is, I know you transferred from other major to nursing. What made you to transfer, and what was image about nursing and nurses at the time?
It's a little bit of a sad story, but over the course of the pandemic in 2020, I lost my grandma during the pandemic. It wasn't related to COVID, but it was due to a stroke. And for me, it was a really hard time, and I couldn't believe how the nurses were able to go to work and be in the workforce and take care of my grandma during this really stressful time. I thought of nursing to be a very noble cause. And I felt like if I could do something for someone in the way that I couldn't do for my grandma when she was going through that really rough time, I feel like that would give me fulfillment in my own way. However, I feel like through my experiences of working in hospitals, I get to kind of see how like management works into play, how staffing works into play. I feel like in general, that's like the kind of core of nursing, is that no matter like what difficulties that are apparent, you still persevere and you still try your best in any way you can.
So now you started to see some realistic aspect of nursing, but the core nursing still remains the same, right?
Yes.
Oh, I love the answer. So I looked at the curriculum on your school website. It seems like very similar to what I have gone through in Korea. Like first 2 years is mainly didactic courses, and from third year you start to do clinicals in hospitals, right? How was your didactic classes go?
So my prerequisite classes, it was actually during like quarantine or COVID, so it was online classes. However, because of that, it made me like have a really big learning curve when I went into my third and fourth year of college, which is like with clinicals and also like actual nursing classes. So it was a really big difference, and I definitely had to like change how I studied or changed how I prepared for those exams separately. I'm pretty sure that nursing school in Korea and in the US was probably the same, just like going through it, trying to like cram all of this material in a really short amount of time. So I'm pretty sure we had a very similar experience in that aspect.
But I know that all the schools in the States, they don't have a relative grading system, right? It's not relative to how your other classmates do.
Oh, is that how it works in Korea?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because in my school, it's not based on who's in your class. That's actually really interesting. I didn't know that.
Well, I think that makes a big difference, because like cramming for exam, it's all the same. But if it gets to that relative grading system, people get so sensitive. They don't like work together. Everyone is enemy, and they try to get over somebody all the time. So
with mine, everyone is so nice to each other, and we're all trying to help each other out. Like we give each other like resources or like study guides or things like that. I feel like I'd be like really unmotivated to like do really well, because I wouldn't be like collaborating with everyone. It'd be like competing with people. I feel like that would make me like really disheartened to like study.
Yeah, definitely.
For nursing school in NYU, it's only one building, and then in that one building there's only 2 lecture rooms. It's really small, yeah. And I feel like I am not really part of the NYU campus too, because the NYU building for nursing is on 26th Street and it's not on Washington Square Park. So I feel even more like away from the whole NYU campus feeling.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I felt the same way when I was in my nursing school. Because when I first decided to attend Korea University, I was blown up with the campus that was so pretty. And then when I started my school, like I had to actually go to another building that's like far away from that main campus. So I was like, I didn't feel like I was part of them. I was just going to nursing school next to Korea University. That's how I felt.
There's also like the accelerated students as well. So it's like I'm traditional because this is my first like degree, but there's also students who graduated from a different university and then they came to nursing school through an accelerated program.
Okay, so they have a whole different program, but somehow you guys have a cross point.
Yes, it was kind of sad because I made some friends with the previous accelerated group, but then they graduated already, so I couldn't see them anymore. But it's okay, I made new friends anyways. Yes. Sometimes like the first thing I have to ask is like, oh, are you an accelerated or are you traditional? And if I find a traditional student, it's like really exciting because I'm like, oh, we're the same age. Because a lot of my friends or a lot of the accelerated students, like they can be up to like 23 to like 40s or like things like that. Like, and it makes me realize like how like different nursing can look like for a lot of other people too. Like it's not just like just me as like a new grad. It can also be people who have had so many other jobs and then they go back into nursing. So it's really cool. But there was like a number of students who like, for example, like failed out of like their nursing classes or weren't able to complete like everything in the nursing curriculum. So they were dropped from the program or they withdraw from the program and try to like retake those classes another time. Or some people just withdraw because of financial reasons, but then they rejoin in like the spring and they just graduate a little bit later. So I know someone who was really like passionate about nursing before, but then what a lot of students do is that they switch from nursing to pre-med. And so it's not really like a reach where like they change their profession completely, but I guess maybe some other people want to approach healthcare in a different setting rather than nursing, but maybe through like being a doctor.
Do they emphasize the importance of like malpractice insurance or something like that?
I wish they did talk about it more in detail because I feel like that's like a really big concern that I kind of have. Things that can jeopardize my license. I don't really know exactly the details of that, and I really wish that I could. But the class did go over it briefly. It's just making sure you follow certain ethics or going over your hospital policies to make sure that there's nothing that you're doing like out of line.
Oh, let's talk about your clinicals. So when you first started clinicals,
I definitely feel like I had a really hard time struggling in terms of managing my time and also trying to do well in classes and then also trying to like go to like 8-hour clinicals like for twice a week or so.
Oh, that's how it works. Because in my nursing school, how we did it was we finished the coursework first. So within that 16 weeks, we finished it within like 4 or 8 weeks. Do all the midterm finals and get it done. And then we start clinical from Monday to Friday all day long.
Now that I think of it, maybe I would have preferred my way better. Sometimes like I would have a clinical and then I would have an exam the day after and I would be so tired after my clinical, but I can't sleep. I have to like stay awake and study. I think like pros and cons to each method, but I really struggled with how my school worked. I honestly don't know how like people like do really well in nursing school and also like manage to have a well-balanced life. Like I really did not take care of myself during nursing school. Like my room would always be messy and I'll just like clean it up afterwards. So yeah, I need to figure out like how to be better with that.
Yeah, I mean, my mom used to say that I studied harder when I was in junior year than when I was preparing for my Korean SAT. So
Yeah, that makes sense, honestly. Sometimes I like reflect back and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I did all of that like a year ago. It's honestly up to the nurse that I'm with for the day that
Right.
allows me to do as much as I can. Some nurses are very lenient and they'll honestly like walk me through everything that they do, and they even want me to like administer like a heparin shot or things like that. And so on other nurses, like they might not be like as interactive and they'll just want me to just observe and sit back. It's very like up to the nurse that I'm with, but there's a very like big range of like what I could do and what I couldn't do. I was able to do a lot of head to toe assessments and be able to like report back to the nurse if there was like anything that I saw that was abnormal. It really is like what I come into in the day. Sometimes I don't do anything. I can't touch the patients. And then some days like I'm like there like with the patient like the whole day.
But I was also impressed when you told me that you're actually doing a part-time job as a CNA. Is that a normal thing among nursing students, or is it just you?
So for students that are also doing an externship that I did over the summer, they can also do a CNA job, which is just like outside experience. I don't know if this is like normal. A lot of students do these, whether or not they're doing something over the summer or they just pick up another job part-time. I guess it is up to the person if they're willing to take on a job while they're in nursing school. It is a lot of time management and a lot of dedication to make sure that you're able to fulfill both of those needs. So even though I have no certification, because I'm in a nursing program, I was able to have this part-time job. So it's really easy for a lot of nursing students to apply for CNA jobs, and I would really recommend it to just get extra experience.
Since you're in last year of your nursing program, do you graduate first and then take NCLEX and then start job hunting?
For nursing school, you need a certification in order to apply for the NCLEX, and that takes some time. So normally people would graduate first, get their certification to take the NCLEX to show that of proof that they graduated from a nursing program, and then they're able to take their NCLEX anytime afterwards, usually over the summer after they graduate. And then once they once they pass their NCLEX, they can apply for jobs. However, you can also start interviewing for jobs before you pass your NCLEX. You just need to tell your employer like what date you assigned for to take your NCLEX, and usually they'll be able to hire you before you pass your NCLEX.
What do you think matters the most when you do job hunting?
Usually employers, they just see everyone as the same. So even if I went to NYU and I applied to NYU, I would be seen as the same as any other applicant, which is really unfortunate. However, because I do have clinicals in NYU, I want to make that as like my selling point, that I have seen and I have experienced a lot of what the hospital is like at NYU. But in general, I'm just seen as any other applicant. I do know that NYU Langone has a specific GPA requirement, so that's why I'm like really trying hard to make sure I finish strong in my academics in my last semester of nursing school. And also just making sure that I'm able to like show off like the amount of experiences that I've had as like a CNA or as an extern, and having that like be more of a selling point for me, just because I feel like that will make me a more competitive applicant. Because I feel like in the States, like GPA matters to a certain extent, but at the same time, if you present yourself in a really like persuasive way, then it doesn't really matter in the end.
What is your plan from now on?
So I'm still like thinking a lot about what my future is going to look like. Obviously, I plan to finish strong with my last semester of nursing school. I hope to pass my NCLEX very quickly after that. I'm already looking into like thinking about what type of specialty I want to go into. I think the problem with nursing is that there's so many options. And that means it's too many options for me, where I have to narrow it down very quickly. And I feel like it's so sad because I don't want to limit myself. So I'm trying to keep an open mind, but at the same time thinking a lot about what I really want to do with my career, especially because as a new grad, my first job would be a really good step into whatever future career opportunities I want to go into. I'm just trying to take it one step at a time and trying not to think too far into the future, but also try to make sure that I'm prepared for whatever is next to come.
Oh, speaking of specialties, I found it also interesting that you guys don't do clinicals in OR, ICU, and ER generally, right?
Yeah, we don't.
And also, as a new grad, you start your first career in med surg, right? Oh.
Yeah, normally that's kind of the norm, especially with med surg. It's a big like foundational step, and then they go into specialties. But now, like with the pandemic and the nursing shortage, like I see a lot of new grads going into like specific specialties, even like the NICU or like the emergency department.
Mm-hmm.
From what I hear, yes, it is pretty easy. Like once you're in like one unit, you can transfer to a different unit.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like I think my long term is to be in the ICU, but I'm a little nervous about the ICU. So I think I might do like, for example, a med surg or like a step down unit and like try to build myself up from there. So there's a lot of different like ways you can go into like whatever unit you want to go into. So it's really easy to transfer in the US. So I've done clinicals in NYU Tisch, Kimmel. I've also done it in Long Island. And then next semester, I'm going to be doing it at NYU Brooklyn. But I do know that other people, they had their clinicals, for example, their pediatrics clinical in New York Presbyterian in the pediatrics unit. But I believe with NYU, they mostly stick to NYU hospitals.
Oh, that's nice. Is it a matter of capacity and is it random, like where to be assigned? Oh.
Yeah, I guess it is a matter of capacity. That would make sense just because there's like a lot of students and they need to send them off to different clinical sites every semester. And it is random. So it was really sad because I was in Long Island my whole last semester. So I had to take the LIRR to go there at like 5 in the morning. But I think that's just a part of nursing school.
Yeah, I can share a similar story. My school had 3 different locations and I randomly got assigned to the one that's the furthest from my home, and I couldn't even take any public transportation, so I just had to book a hotel for 5 days and then stay there only to do my clinical.
Wow. Just don't understand, like, is this a universal nursing school problem? Like, they just expect us to be at these hospitals, like, at 7 a.m., like, at any time, any location. It just doesn't make sense to me.
And again, thank you for taking your time today. It was such a good time talking about nursing schools. And
it's like building bonds over all of the hardships. Like, that's like the idea.
I feel like that's how I made friends in hospitals too. Same concept.
No, definitely. Like, I get along with so many people because we just struggle together and like we come out of it stronger, and like I just feel more like connected with everyone.
Okay, Irene, I will see you next time. We can always reach out to each other. So
yeah, I'll keep you updated.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you and have a good night.
Bye.